Bending his bark isn't as bad as his bite. Here's your look at Mattel Masterverse, Master Universe Revelation, Trapjaw. Half mortal, half machine, the sinister cyborg Trapjaw made his name terrorizing Eternians. Armed with an array of deadly devices that attached to his mechanical arm, the man with the metal jaw served Skeletor as an obedient weapon of destruction. With Skeletor gone, Trapjaw serves a new master now, Triclops, of the technological cult-worshipping motherboard. Before we look at the man with the metal jaw, the first thing we probably should do is figure out how tall the Master Universe Revelation Trapjaw stands. I'm going to grab my ruler, I'm going to put it right to the very top of his head, and of course factoring in that little ringlet that he has on the top of his helmet. Trapjaw stands at 7 3/8 of an inch, almost 7.5 inches in height, or he's about 18.5 centimeters tall. And then to bring in more masters, as we had done before when we looked at the Triclops, I so happen to also still have the Matty Collector Master Universe Classics Trapjaw, so might as well bring him in as well. Now, one thing I do like, at least about this figure, and not talking about the ridiculous costuming that you can also add on to the figure, I'm not going to display him with that, but I'll certainly show you guys in this review what he looks like. I do like that underneath his clothing, he does have the rather familiar looking Trapjaw body, and its familiar bottom jaw as well. That does have articulation. We're going to talk more about that in a second. And then, of course, we can also bring in some of the other Master Universe Revelation figures. Here's what he looks like next to Triclops. Still Triclops, I'm surprised with how tall that figure is. Trapjaw almost seems like he's from a different figure line, as the figure is that much shorter. We can also bring in Scareglow, who again is not as tall as Triclops. What's the deal that Triclops seems to be the tallest figure that we've gotten in the Master Universe Revelations line? And then we can also bring in one of my personal favorites. Here's what he looks like next to Stinkor. Though he's slightly off to the side. If you're wondering who smelt it, by the way, Stinkor dealt it. But yeah, Trapjaw, not the shortest necessarily. He's about the same height as Scareglow. He is, though, taller than Stinkor, and he is still shorter than Triclops. Good old Triclops seems to be the tallest. Being that the figure comes with an alternate outfit, and being the fact that it's my least favorite thing about Trapjaw, we're going to keep that for the last. It's the last thing we're going to look at before we take this figure to final looks. In the meantime, though, let's have a look at the things that do come included with the figures. The thing I like about Trapjaw. For the figure's accessories, Trapjaw comes included with a relaxed hand. Currently, he only has one option to swap out the hand. Of course, it's this side right here. As of right now, he has a gripping hand. That's more than enough for me. But if you did want yourself a relaxed hand, I don't know why you would, but it is available there if you did want to change out the hand. Of course, talking about the more interesting side of Trapjaw, the figure does have some swappable arm bits. Currently, right now, attached to his forearm, or what would have been his forearm, the figure does have a laser cannon, or laser blaster. The figure does also have two swappable other options as well. He has a hook, and then he has sort of a claw. The claw. Either one of these, by the way, you can go ahead and take the figure. And like with previous instances of Trapjaw in the past, a little hook on the side, and you can loop it into his belt. The problem with it, though, is if you look at the actual looplets on his belt, they don't seem big enough. Really, to take that and fit that in, I have to exert a lot of force. And do the exact same thing on the other side as well. The other thing about it, too, is that they stick out, unfortunately. I mean, even just look at the way the hook hangs out like this. He'd never be able to put his arms down to the side. And do the exact same thing on this side, too. Yeah, I wish the loops were just a little bit bigger. I don't plan to have this displayed like this all the time, but at the very least, if I did want to swap out Trapjaw's arms, I'd like to think at least being able to put them onto the belt would be a lot easier and not as much of a chore as what it is. And again, I just don't like the idea that they stick out the way that they do. Maybe if anything, if they had put the hooks like on this side, you could at least have had the parts of his arm running almost more parallel or flush to his body and not sticking out like this. It almost looks like he's got cup holders on the sides of his belt. Let's go ahead and just take those off for right now. Of course, like I said, he already does have the laser cannon arm. Pew, 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 pew. Laser cannon sound effects, of course. If you did want to change out the arms, by the way, you just hold on. This is the part right here. You're going to unpeg it. But when you unpegging it, I find it helps to actually twist the arm. or twist at least the part that would have attached onto his arm. And why I say that is when you look at it, he's got a very small peg. That if it's too tight of quarters and you go to yank this, you could possibly break that post right off. You just want to be a little bit careful. To change out the hands, of course, you're going to have the holes on the inside. You're just going to rinse and repeat. They have like a little ledge right here. I guess the reasoning why they put that there is that these don't then slide off so easily. But it also means it's going to be more of a problem that you have to get over that little ledge of plastic to get the arm back into place. And again, when you're dealing with a post this narrow, I just feel adding that little ledge of plastic was ridiculous, and it wasn't even necessary. Again, see how much pressure I have to apply just to get that in place. I would certainly recommend, if you pick this figure up for yourself, and I would certainly encourage you to, if you're a big fan of Master Universe, probably say like heat that hole, because again, it's just a lot of pressure. I didn't do that. I didn't heat the plastic, and I almost now regret that I didn't. The amount of work and effort it takes just to get that hand in place. I don't know why that little lip of plastic even had to be there. But anyways, that's what it looks like when you want to change out the arm. And again, you can just rinse and repeat the same step if you want to have them displayed with the hook instead. Which one of the three do you actually prefer to have your trap jaw displayed with? Because again, like all of these arms have stayed pretty consistent with one another with all the other trap jaw releases we've gotten over the years. Again, we're not going to get to this territory just yet. Let's go ahead and pick the figure up and get a closer look at trap jaw. You know, like Triclops, when you don't have him dressed up in that Revelation outfit, of course, when he's worshipping Motherboard, he actually makes for a decent looking trap jaw. There's a lot of things I really like about this figure. Other than his outfit, there's one thing I don't like about this figure, and it actually involves his namesake, his trap jaw. I mean, if you look at the trap jaw itself, the bottom end of the mouth, you can see the way they've actually make it look like steel, as he has these little riveted points along the bottom section of his chin. It's a good looking head sculpt, I have to say. Until you actually open up his mouth. Yes, you can actually open up his mouth. Trapjaw did have that before, but he didn't have it looking like this. First of all, it kind of looks like he's got a lizard face. Second of all, what's the deal with having his tongue hanging out like this? It looks like he's trying to lick a lolly, or an ice cream cone, for example. I think it's ridiculous. Just based on this alone, I would never decide to open up his mouth. I think the idea of having him with his tongue sticking out is just, it's dumb. It's a bit dumb. I'm not a fan of this at all. At least the saving grace is that you can close the mouth. And that's as high up as it goes, but that's more than enough. I don't mind the fact that you can see a little bit of teeth on the top of his lip, just below his top lip. That looks good. But why they didn't have to go in there and sculpt the tongue? I'm not a fan. Am I easy to read? I know it's hard at times to really tell what I'm saying here and my emotions behind this, but I am really disappointed with that face sculpt. Why did they have to put the tongue in there in the first place? That at least looks good. I don't mind that at all. And then, of course, for the rest of his body, pretty much familiar looking territory for Trapjaw. Now, he does have this belt, which is technically something that can be removed. I find, if anything, it helps to remove the belt if you're looking to dress him up, or in my case, dress him down, because he's going to look worse dressed with this extra outfit, this garb but yeah, you can undo the belt and remove this completely if you want to. We'll get more to that in a second. His robotic arm is nicely done. I like the darker gray that they've decided to go with here. Again, like the jaw, you've got all these little bolted in areas where that would have been attached to the side of his torso. He still has all the additional articulation that would go along with this side of his body. He gets that also in this side as well, with a single hinge only working for his elbow. A nice detailing where he's got the gauntlet here, which actually is a separate piece. It does rotate, slightly rotates when you are taking the figure. They probably did add a little bit of glue there to it, because I don't think even removing the hand, let's go ahead and just remove the hand for right now. There we go. The gauntlet seems like it's pretty stuck in place. I don't know if necessarily I would have said anyways to take this off, but if you did want to, and actually I guess while we're at it, let's put the relaxed hand in there. There we go. He has the lower skirting done in a softer plastic to replicate the fur that he has in his loincloth. Kind of like the darker coloring that they went with. It's kind of like an off reddish, almost red wine color. Again, like the other Trapjaws. In fact, you know what? I keep wanting to compare these. I might as well just bring in the other Trapjaw. This is the Matty Collector release. You can see like the thigh coloring is going to be the same, that fluorescent green. The coloring of the blue actually is quite a bit brighter than the Matty Collector release. It's a kind of more of a bluish gray or gray-based blue. The legs still seem to be about the same, where he's got the thicker kneecap areas. It doesn't have as much that when you look at the Matty Collector release. But again, like all the very much the same familiar looking sculpting goes between the two figures. And I really like just the classic look of Trapjaw. Like Triclops, I'm never going to display this guy in his Revelation outfit. Still, though, for the purpose of this review, and obviously you guys will want to see it for yourselves, if you did want to change him out. So I'm going to put the figure down here for 1 second. The figure's outfit, his alternate outfit, consists of, I'm just going to do it back up here, sort of a tunic that has holes on the sides of his arms and a hole on the top for, of course, his neck. And then he's going to be wearing this kind of like this. He does also have himself a belt that's going to go around his waist. We're going to talk more about that in a second. And then he also has like an additional, I don't know what you would necessarily consider this. It's like a vest, somewhat. It just literally goes over top of his body. The thing I've noticed, though, is that when you are doing this, I'm going to go ahead and grab his belt, for example. The belt, for all intensive purposes, is supposed to go around and attach to itself. If you look at it, there's not enough clearance when you've already got this skull belt in place, which is really a nice looking belt, by the way. I almost feel like I'm doing him a disservice by detaching this belt, but I almost feel like you have to, because the belt just won't be able to reach around if you've already got this in place. So I suppose the first step we really should do is just detach the back of this, and we're going to remove this. This isn't going very far, believe you me. The other thing you will want to do as well is detach the head sculpt. And I guess as well, we probably should also remove this. Again, getting it over that little lip of plastic. Once you get that all good and going, you're going to go ahead and unvelcro the back here of his tunic. And then we're just going to slide this over top of it. You don't really even necessarily need to remove the one hand, but it makes things a lot easier to remove the attachment on the other side of his body. And then, of course, going around to the back, attach it via the Velcro strip that runs from the top to the bottom. Again, it's like dressing a small child. There we go. And then once that's in place, going back to the topic of what I said before with the belt, first of all, you're going to want to take this part and slide this over top of his body. Again, like what left of there is Trapjaw. Of course, the head's going to go back in place and the arm's going to go back in place. But that looks, I know it was in the Revelation series, but for me, that doesn't look like Trapjaw at all. And then the last thing you're going to want to do is open up the belt. This flips around because it's going to actually keep the top vest area or shoulder pad area, and it's going to keep the tunic together. And why I did actually go back and remove the belt is because, again, if you had the belt still in place, you would not be able to clear this. I tried doing it with the belt, and it wouldn't be able to stretch far enough to fit into the hole. So yeah, you're going to have to take that out and leave it off. And then we could go ahead. Let's just put on his cannon arm again. There we go. And then just put back on his head sculpt. And what I feel to be worse for wear, that's what Trapjaw looks like. It doesn't look anything like Trapjaw. I mean, again, it looks like Trapjaw from the Revelation series, but that's not the way. That's not the way I'm going to display Trapjaw. And just in case you did want to see what he looks like with Triclops, that's what he looks like with Triclops. Am I going to be displaying either one of these? I have not been displaying Triclops looking like this at all. I just dressed him up for the sake of this review. I'm certainly not going to be doing this with Trapjaw either. I'm going to put that to the side. Looking at the figure's articulation, which probably should have been something I looked at prior to putting up all this additional outfit on him, his head is on a ball joint. Now, the thing about the head ball joint, and this is really something that I probably should have not done while him being dressed up like this. If you look at the neck leans forward like this, and I'm going to put his head back onto the ball joint. First of all, you're going to be limiting a lot of the articulation by the fact that you do add all the additional garb on top of this. But when it comes to moving his head, he's always going to be looking like this. You can't have him looking up just by the nature of the ball joint. The neck, like I said, sits on an angle. The head technically does rotate all the way around, but the quarters are tighter because, of course, you're adding all the additional plastic and fabric over top of it. Not that I would be wanting to do this again, but he does have articulation on the jaw. It's so silly. There's articulation there. The arms do come out. They do rotate all the way around as well. There is a swivel in the bicep. There is a double hinge on the elbow. Although with the build of these figures, you tend not to be able to get a double bend on the elbow, simply just because he's got a bigger bicep to have to deal with. Hands rotate all the way around, although it's going to be a little harder on this side of Triclops As of course he does have the gauntlet over top of his forearm. This other side, by the way, he does have a bicep swivel. He has only a single hinge, and I guess technically the way it attaches into place to that peg, you can rotate the blaster or whatever arm attachment you want to go with. It does rotate all the way around as well. Figure does have an upper torso ball joint. The legs do split out as well. You can take the forward and back motion on the legs. There's a swivel. Let's just move the skirting up here for a second. He has a swivel there at the top of the thigh, about 3/4 of the way up. He does have a double hinge on the knee, a very large, again, knee cap, a top part of his boot. And then when it comes to his boots, not only does he have an ankle pivot that goes this way, hinge joint up in this way, but the figure also does have an ankle pivot going as well. But there's Trapjaw, not the way I will be displaying him. Oh no, no way at all. Overlooking really my one gripe with the figure, and that's the fact they sculpted in the tongue. Why did they have to sculpt in the tongue? At least the figure, like Triclops, you don't have to always have him displayed like this. If this is the way that the figure would have been packaged and there was no way to remove the costuming at all, it would have been a hard pass, a very hard pass. I would have not picked up either one of these. But being the fact that they are also packaged in their original look, and these outfits are only something that you could decide for yourself to add later on, which I won't, I think that Trapjaw, like Triclops, is well worth picking up. Not to display him necessarily like this, but to display him instead in his OG look, in which I'm going to be displaying both the figures proudly on my shelf. Wait, so you're telling me you're never going to be displaying your Trapjaw in the alternate Revelation? I can't even finish the rest of that. That's a hard pass. I didn't even have to think about that either. That is a hard pass. At least to the credit of Mattel, they did give you, first of all, a larger packaging, as they did do the case with also Triclops. Gives you the option, at least, to having the alternate outfit being alternate. It's not permanent. It's not married to this figure. Because I got to tell you, if it was married and I took the figure out of the packaging and there was no way to remove the costuming, if I knew that in advance, first of all, I would never even pick the figure up in the first place, and we wouldn't be having this banter back and forth. That's a hard pass. Like the Triclops, I only really brought the Triclops back out in that alternate Revelation outfit, only just to show you how what I thought to be rather ridiculous looking characters. That's going to go back to the bag and never seen again. Triclops' outfit is also going back to that very same baggie, never to be seen again. Underneath all that, though, is a decent looking Triclops. He's not perfect. There are a few little quips about the figure I'm not as crazy about. First of all, changing out his arms can be difficult. The robotic side, at least. First of all, you're dealing with a very small, narrow post. On top of that, you're dealing with a little ledge that's on that post. And then, of course, trying to remove the arm and then putting a new arm in place. I would certainly recommend, as I didn't do in this review, and I should have done it just before I started reviewing because I knew I was going to have problems with it, but I thought, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It wasn't fine. I would have probably suggested heating that up to get it over top of that little ledge of plastic. Of course, the other arm bits, of course, can attach to the side of his belt, as with previous cases of Trapjaw before, but it's never been this problematic. First of all, those little looplets are way too small. They fit in there. Those little extra arm pieces are fine to attach in there, but you do have to put a lot of pressure to get them in there. And then once you get them in there, they're sticking out the sides like he's a gunslinger with, guns on either side of his belt. They should have sat flush, I feel, at least to the side of his body. The other thing, and the biggest issue I have with this figure, is the tongue. I mean, let's face facts. All the other Trapjaws, or at least the more recent Trapjaws, have had a hinging jaw. Even like the older retro figure had a hinging jaw. I'm not faulting the figure character design for that. What I'm faulting it for is the need to sculpt in a Gene Simmons tongue. So I would say it was in the episode. At one point, pause it in this part of the episode, you can clearly see Trapjaw's got his tongue sticking out. That's fine for a few seconds. I don't think we should permanently marry that to plastic, where it's always going to be the case. At least you can hide it with the bottom of his jaw, which I will be hiding it, like his alternate outfit. We're going back to talking about and dissing the alternate outfit. As it goes stock, without dressing him up, a nice looking Trapjaw. Never going to see that outfit ever again. I'm going to relegate it into the dark depths of my tote. You're never going to see it again. And then I say that right now. And then we're going to get another Revelation dress-up character. And then, of course, I'm going to have to bring back Triclops. I'm going to have to bring back Trapjaw, both in those outfits. I'm going to say to myself, I should have never committed myself to saying those are never going to see light of day again. If you have, though, picked up this figure for yourself, Which plans? What plan do you have to display him? Are you going to go with classic OG look like I've got right now? Or are you going to dress him up in his Revelation outfit? Not a fan. If that's something that you like, all the power to you. By the way, though, if you guys are interested to pick this one up for yourself, I did actually get this one over on Entertainment Earth's website. Trapjaw by now has already been circulating around for retail stores for a while, but Entertainment Earth actually had it for a decent price. And I find lately, ordering the stuff that I am from their website, they seem to ship stuff and it arrives at my doorstep within a week. I mean, I just ordered this Trapjaw and he came to my doorstep in about a week's time. So I don't know what they're doing. They must be using really fast speeding owls to deliver the parcels. But whatever they're doing, the boxes are coming in rapid speed. Again, if you guys are interested to pick this one up for yourself, I'll provide the link down below that will take you on over to Entertainment Earth's website. You can get Trapjaw for yourself. You can also get some of the other Revelation figures that they have in stock currently also. And of course, if you guys are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing. If you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and come back while we have wrapped up for right now Revelation figures. There definitely will be more Masters of the Universe figure reviews coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.